Hi, guys. Welcome to A Little Help for Our Friends, a podcast for people with loved ones struggling with mental health. Hey, little helpers. It's Dr. Kibby here. Before we dive into this episode, I wanted to tell you how I could help you navigate the mental health or addiction struggles of the people you love. Cool of Mine is the online coaching platform and community that I built to support you in the moment when you need it the most, like having hard conversations, asserting your needs, or setting boundaries. Even if you're just curious and want to chat about it, book a free call with me by going to the link in the show notes or going to coolamind.com, KULAMIND.com, and click Get Started. Thank you and enjoy the show. Hello, little helpers. Today will be a little bit different of an episode because I wanted to share a really personal, a very special experience that I just had. So this is going to be just really off the cuff, kind of free associating, telling you all. This will be the first time that I'm talking about this. So I'm going to be telling you all about my experience, and I don't even know what I'm going to say and what I remember, but I want to share my experience last week going on a special healing retreat for breast cancer survivors that centered around a special plant medicine. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to say what that plant medicine is because certain platforms I learned will actually block this episode if I do. But just rest assured that it was totally safe, legal, and super regulated. So it was monitored by doctors and experts, and it was just really, really carefully done. So I just wanted to share what I discovered in that and just a really new and alternative way of healing from intense trauma. So, um, basically, I'll tell you a little bit about, I'll just tell you about the whole thing, and then I'll tell you the insights that I came to. It was just really the most beautiful experience that I could have asked for. I am so grateful. And this is going to be part of my integration processing because I just had so many amazing insights that I want to cling to. Um, and it's slowly unfolding during these weeks after. And so I'm sharing with you my healing process in real time. Um, so the funny thing is that I went on this healing retreat because it is run by one of my husband's ex-girlfriends. So her name is Ann Hamilton. I really want to get her on this podcast. She is amazing. And she had breast cancer as well, and at a young age. And she started their Survivorship Collective, an amazing nonprofit that is dedicated to providing these healing experiences to cancer survivors, breast cancer survivors specifically right now. So it was funny because she reached out through my husband, and I've only heard about her, from my husband as an ex, only very good things, that she was like amazing, she's very smart, she's very talented. But she reached out to me and said, "Hey, I heard you had breast cancer. Do you want to come on this healing retreat?" And I immediately said yes, mostly because I wanted to meet her and for the story. But I also was like, yeah, if I'm really thinking about it, I've had a really hard time recently, and it was weird. Um, I mean, I've spoken on this platform about how I've had childhood trauma and different kinds of traumas throughout my life, a lot of loss, but cancer is fresh. I mean, I was doing this podcast with Jacqueline through chemo, through the treatment, and I was just so focused on surviving that it was kind of anticlimactic when it ended, right? People often ask, like, what did you learn? How did you grow? And I'm just there are days that I didn't even remember that I had it. Like, I always think to myself, like, oh, I'm not more productive, or why am I so tired, or why don't I have enough energy? But I completely forgot that I had a year and a half where I thought I might have died. I thought I might die, actually. And it's only in the aftermath, only in the when every part of the major treatment was done, that I felt the emotional effects of it. And I've been feeling more like my old traumas coming up and feeling really stuck. And what that felt like was, I guess I felt like I was trying to draw water out of a dry well. I've been, doing this podcast, building this community and support program for loved ones of people with mental illness, Cool of Mind, um, parenting a toddler, just living my life, trying to be a wife and daughter and everything like that, but just feeling like I have nothing in me. Not that anything felt bad, like I didn't dislike any of these things, but it felt like you're trying to run a marathon on no food, right? It just was like, hey, I have no fuel in me. I feel like drained. I felt flat and I was constantly beating myself up. I guess I still am, but like I was constantly, like every morning I'd wake up being like, why aren't you doing more? Why aren't you faster? Why aren't you better? Why aren't you getting up and doing more yoga? Why, just constantly steeped in my self-hatred or my self-criticism. Um, and really cherish the moments where I spend time with clients or people that I'm working with, because that, pouring love into other people was very healing for me. But I just kind of felt like for myself, I was really running on empty. And so when Anne invited me to this, I immediately was like, yes, please. I love the idea of having a space to just sit with the fact that I went through a trauma, that I almost died. I hadn't done that in a while. I had just been trying to move on and pretend it didn't happen. But I was like, you know what? This might be a good time for me to just see what comes up. So the other thing that sold me was the beautiful Airbnb that she booked for it. So last week I flew there and it was nine of us women, all different ages, spanning from like 70s to 20s. And I realized I hadn't been in a room with other breast cancer survivors ever, except for sitting in the waiting room at chemo, which is never a healing. Well, it is a healing setting, but it doesn't feel like one. So it was just, first of all, it just struck me as like, wow, all these different women, different walks of life have gotten this disease. Most of us have no idea why. Like, I don't have a genetic predisposition. There wasn't anything in common that we all had. It just like popped up out of nowhere. And I was fascinated that we all were dealing with the trauma of cancer, but that also brought up so many other traumas. Like, it made all the other ones that we were dealing with so complex. I can't speak for everyone, but I know a lot of us were struggling with holding someone else's pain or feeling responsible. Like, there were people who were mothers, people who just like were working with intergenerational trauma, like their moms were having a hard time. Like, there was just so much collective pain that we were holding. I'm literally just like processing this out loud. So you're all here for here for the ride. So immediately it was just an amazing group of women who were just all there to heal and work through and go deep into our traumas. So it was a really well thought out retreat. And I think that it just built a really nice container for just deep introspection. The plant medicine was the key ingredient, but I almost feel like the whole retreat and thoughtfulness around this approach was, if even if we didn't have the plant medicine, I think it still would have been pretty profound. So we got there, and the first day we got there, it was just almost like a fairy tale. I mean, the Airbnb was gorgeous. It had this fireplace, and it was just like had this giant hot tub overlooking the sunset. And when we got there, it had just rained, so there was a double rainbow that filled the whole sky. And the rest of the group got pictures of me wearing my bathrobe, running just to see the rest of the rainbow. I wasn't even on the medicine at the time. I was just like, I got there and I was like, oh my God. And I ran and I got through a clearing in the forest and I saw that the double rainbow was end to end, like unbroken. It was one of the most beautiful scenes I've ever seen. And already I was like, wow, this just just being able to stand in awe of nature was just healing on its own. I went back and I joked. I was like, I'm done, healing done. I'm gonna go home now. But then we had a few meetings before we even came to get to know each other and really talk about the parameters and expectations around this experience. Some parts that were really amazing were just talking about, like, what are you supposed to do? I love that we talked about, like, what does confidentiality mean? Right? Like, not sharing personal stories of anyone else outside, which means that I'm not going to go into other people's journeys. And um, we talked very, very carefully about our medical histories, mental health histories, with a facilitator and a doctor, and we shared parts about ourselves to get to know the group so we feel safe around each other, and talk about, like, we can't touch each other, and the facilitators can hold our hands and everything like that. So it really set the stage for, okay, we're going to make sure that you feel safe in this group, um, and let's get it out of the way. Do you feel weird about people touching you, or do you have a certain snack that you need? Like, what do you need to feel safe to go deep and do your own healing work? um, and something that I really loved was that there was a big focus of this experience was setting an intention. So we talked about it before and we wrote it down, but we really thought carefully about, like, what do we want to get out of this experience? What are we working with? What are the blocks and the things that we're trying to work through? And our facilitator was named Julian. He is a therapist in Ecuador, and he also learned a lot of this, the sacred working with the plant medicine, back in his country from these elders. And he was saying that you have to have a conversation with the plant medicine. You have to tell it what you're looking for. I mean, you could also just say, just give me what I need to know, but it was this real process. He kept saying this, co-creating the healing experience. We weren't, like, getting healing done to us. We are healing with it. And I think that was just such a different way of thinking about healing, right? Because, like, even all my experiences with getting healed in Western medicine, I'm sitting there receiving chemotherapy. I'm sitting there receiving a surgery. I hope that I am alive when I wake up. And it's very passive, right? Things being done to us. Even in childbirth, I was like, there's a doctor who's like, like, you're lying on your back and we're going to take that baby out of you, right? It's like being a patient and healing has a lot of, like, passivity. But this was talked about, like, no, this is the medicine this is gonna open up your healing, but you have to set an intention. So we talked a lot about it, we thought about it, and I remember we had our journals and we wrote what our intentions were. And when we got there, we had some meditations, we took a walk in the forest. But day one was really this small dose of the plant medicine, just so we can kind of get familiar with it and kind of get the anxiety out. And we sat and wrote our intentions and really spent a lot of time on that. This is what I wrote. My intention is to clear out the stagnation, the stuck in the self. I remember writing this. The stuck in the self-hatred and self-limiting, to wash away the debris, and feel the flow of vitality, to feel solid in myself again with grounded movement. I realize I'm so focused on stopping the wave of pain of the ripple effects of trauma. I want to feel the warm maternal energy that radiates out of healing, creates space to process pain instead of holding it back. I also said, I want to see myself as others already see me, loving, safe, and accepting. Oh my God. I want to be centered in myself. I don't know why that part hits me so much. I think that's something that's part of my trauma responses, but like throughout my entire life, I've had people say really nice, like the people who love me say really nice things about me, that I give a centered presence, that I'm kind, but people think I'm relaxed, but my internal experience is I'm always worrying about hurting someone else, always worrying about, am I a bad person? Like, how do I minimize the burden I put on other people? And so I, I, I brought this book from that my husband made for me for my 40th birthday, which is a book of so many of my loved ones, writing amazing, beautiful messages about what I mean to them, and like a happy birthday message. And it was a whole book of people that go from like my childhood friends to like my new friends and family, just saying wonderful things about me. And I remember reading that book when I first read it, and I was just like, why can't I see myself like that? Um, and it's just interesting to read my intention, because I have been feeling like almost like stagnant energy. Like, I can't even describe it. Like, I went through all the chemo and the surgery, something I'm like better, but I feel like stuck. Like if there's something like stagnant water. And I used to feel so much like vitality, and like I'm always doing something. I'm always like forward movement. I'm always like a very active person. But like lately, I'm still doing the active. I'm still being myself, but inside feeling like I can't, I can't. I'm so tired. I hate myself. Just like holding myself back. So yeah, this is just interesting to look back on, because I just kind of like wrote it really quickly. And then the plant medicine, it was really interesting. I'll kind of set the stage for what the whole ceremonies in the plant medicine looked like. But we were in a certified and licensed service center, and it looked like a beautiful yoga studio. Um, and there were little beds, little like mats on the floor with blankets and water and tea. And so it was just like the most cozy place. And we were really told that this was our time to go inward and to take care of ourselves, focus on ourselves. That in itself was really challenging for me. And I know that a lot of other participants too, because we're so used to women, and the kind of women, the kind, loving women that were there with me, were so used to taking care of other people. We're a lot of helper professions and just identified as like people pleasers and all that. But we're so used to working with other people's pain. And so the idea of taking even just like a couple days just to ourselves with other people was crazy. For me, I was like, how am I going to do that? They were saying, like, if someone is having an emotion, first of all, you don't know what they're really feeling. So if they're crying, you don't know if it's a sad cry, or they're grieving, or if they are happy and just weeping tears of joy. And I was like, oh, first of all, we should keep that in mind all the time. That my knee-jerk reaction is to go in and rescue someone, is to be like, I'm a therapist, I know how to help you, make you feel better, blah, blah. But that's already imposing myself onto other people's emotional experiences. But what if they just want to be left alone? Or what if they need to have a good cry and it feels good? And I would interrupt that process if I just jumped in. But so we're like instructed to just focus on ourselves and what we need, and our intention and what we needed. And then we had facilitators. So there's a law about where we were about how many facilitators per person. So actually, there was more than what it was legally sanctioned. So there was about like, I think there was like one facilitator for every two of us. And when I say facilitator, they were trained in basically managing our experiences, keeping us safe, like, um, And they just modeled a really beautiful example of what it's like to facilitate someone's healing without healing them. I'm trying to piece together the explanation right now. But working with people in our Kula Mind community and program, there's a lot of people there who are givers, caretakers, right? They care for people with mental illness or who are struggling in some way. Naturally, this group is really like, I have to fix someone I love. If they are depressed, I have to make them better. So we feel a real big responsibility over other people's pain and fixing. And as a therapist, I'm like, I actually do that for a living. I'm actually like, my job is to help people feel better in the long term, in a way. So the sense of responsibility over other people's pain was something that I was really grappling with. Like in Kula Mind, I talk a lot about how to validate and empathize with someone with their struggles, but also not take responsibility. Give them the agency to help themselves, right? Like have empathy, but also boundaries. And I'm like, on a spiritual, energetic level, I don't really know how that works. Like, I still feel really responsible if my mom is like mad at me or upset or struggling. I'm like, oh, what did I do wrong? I have to do something different. So even just watching the facilitators, I was like, oh, their role is specifically to help get what we need, but not to introduce that, right? So if you imagine we're in this circle of little beds and we have these facilitators, these lovely people, these lovely women who some were nurses, some were, have just like professional facilitators in these different settings. Some are qigong like teachers. So they all were there, and they were just like there for whatever you need. You need to go to the bathroom, they will guide you. You can put your hands on them and they will like help you steady yourself to the bathroom. Or if you just need a hug, or if you need a hand. And it was just beautiful the way they talked about it. They were like, you tell us what you need and practice asking for help. Because in this country, in America, we're not very good at asking for help. We're so used to seeing healing and growth and as a singular individual process, right? Like we do it. But asking for help is a really important skill. And if you just need something, ask for help. We're not going to come do something to you and like make you do something, but we will invite you. And it's your job to tell us what you need. So even talking about touch, they were like, you could come and ask for just for us to hold your hand. But in the moment, if you feel like you don't want to hold my hand anymore, that's fine. You always have agency. And I was like, wow, that's such a cool way of phrasing it. Just like they were like, we're here to help you heal. We're here to create the space so you can do your own healing. So we're in this circle. We have these lovely people behind us. And Julian is our facilitator, and he is in the middle of the room, and he has this altar, which is just a cloth with all these different sacred objects on it. And he said that this altar is the connection between the spirit and the earthly realm. And we're invited to put special things on it. So I put my book of my 40th birthday book with all the wonderful messages. Because I was like, I this is what I want. This is what I value. I want to be this kind of person. I want to be a person that I think I already am, I guess. I'm this person who, so many people wrote such nice things about me. And that's what I value in life. That's all I want to build, is to build like a safe space for people, and to make people feel loved and cared for. So it was like, this book was like probably my most proud accomplishment, right? To like have testimonials of people saying like that they felt that way. So I put that on altar, and other people put really cute things like pictures or like a little statue or something, like a little, little tokens that meant something to them. And Julian, again, like, especially, we did the same thing. Like we did 2 days. One day was a smaller dose and one day was a bigger dose. The smaller dose, we're just writing our intentions and preparing and just getting a sense of what this was like. And he explained that we will, like, he was like, I'm really proud of you that you're all here to go in deep. And the mind, he explained that the mind sometimes needs to disorganize in order to reorganize. So he said, this is a time where different things are going to happen to your brain and it's going to make new connections and think differently than it usually does. And the brain, like most things in nature, don't like things that are not normal. So it does a lot of things to stay normal, right? It kind of recreates the familiar over and over again, right? And this is a time where you're going to go out of that comfort zone. You're going to think differently. It's going to operate differently. And that's going to be scary. And he said, we call that the bridge. There's going to be a point where your conscious mind is going to fight for normalcy, fight for, I want to stay in control. But if you work with that and let that happen, you could go to the other side. So I was like, get me to the other side. That sounds great. What else did we talk about? Oh, he also said that he will use other tools he's learned from his elders to really help the medicine, co-create with it. So he said, I have different instruments, he had different like rattles made from like branches of certain trees or like an actual rattle or like bells. And he said, I'm also going to sing songs. I'm going to sing songs that are from my culture and what I've learned from these traditions. He was like, I'm not going to put them on Spotify or some platform and monetize because that's not what they're here for. They're not just to sound good. They are part of the medicine. They're spiritual, sacred songs. And so I was like, wow, how cool is it that this is treated like, I'm not a very religious person. I always consider myself spiritual, but like, how special is it to really focus a time to contemplate and have this as a special experience just for contemplation? People do it all the time, going to church, right? Prayer and stuff like that. But like, we are creating a moment where you're just in the moment and it's not there for replication or public consumption. It's just there for you in that moment. And that's like really sacred, right? And I was really like, ooh, honored. And we also talked about how, it's really important to respect your lineage and respect generational trauma and how this kind of plant medicine is timeless, right? This medicine, these songs, and this ceremony, this tradition comes from like generations and generations. And he said that often people do feel like time is flat, and so you might encounter like a generational trauma and work with that. So it really was like, whoa, I don't know. It's just like, whoa. But I know what that means. Like now that I was like, I don't know what that means, but like I feel that in my body now. I'm like, oh wow, you're so connected to all these different parts of you that even time, like the old parts of you they inherited from your parents, the sacred healing that you inherit from this ritual from generations in South America are all going to be in this moment. Wow, so powerful. So and we also got like eye mask and like headphones if we wanted to and blankies. So it was just like, okay, I'm gonna lie in my bed and I'm gonna listen to this really nice, kind man like play beautiful music and sing beautifully while these ladies like help me to the bathroom. I was like, this is just it's like the most luxurious spa ever. But the first day I was actually surprised because I was lying there, and it was just a very small dose, and I was like, oh, okay, this kind of feels like got a little sip of wine, not that big of a deal. And then I had a flash of seeing my dad, who had died of cancer when I was like 20. And I just started crying. And I had, I think, 2 hours where I was just uncontrollably crying, not sobbing, but just like tearing. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I needed to grieve. Like, I tell clients all the time that they need to grieve, especially if they're angry or frustrated or they feel stuck. Like, sometimes it's a grief process and accepting of something that you lost and feeling the sadness, right? And feeling that loss, which most people don't want to feel, right? They want to feel like I could do something about it. I'm anxious, which makes me worry so I can do something, or I'm angry that makes me want to blame someone, like very active. But this sometimes grieving is the answer. Sometimes you just need to be sad that something important to you was taken away. So I just pictured my dad, and I hadn't thought of him for a long time, but I just started crying and spent a couple hours, just kind of lying there, like weeping. And he was like, okay, like, we're done, have a good evening, like, let's go around and share something that your experience. And I was like, I'm still like deep in, right? I'm not ready to. So, we're sharing, we're like folding up the blankets and putting on my shoes. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so like, wow. But I felt like an opening. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm really, like, I see that there's stuff and I'm ready to go in deeper. And then going home, I gossiped with Anne about my husband, since we both were with him, which was a lovely touch point, because it was just like, my husband is such an important person to me, and I've seen him through so many, like, I don't even think about it like, these lifetimes in one moment, but it was just like a coming together of timelines in one. So it was just funny to be like, oh my God, like someone from his past, but it's now like my friend, and I don't know. So and also, like, they had all these amazing snacks. I got them from Trader Joe's. I was just like eating chocolate all day. It was really awesome. But I abstained from alcohol and, everything else, and tried to keep a clean diet. So I was, it was just like so luxurious. Anyway, the next day was the big dose. And Julian had asked us, had a talk with us before and been like check in with your experience. How was it? Let's adjust the dose and go with whatever you're comfortable with. And there was opportunity to have a booster, meaning like a little bit more, like later in the journey. And so that was nice. It was just kind of like, okay, like everyone kind of felt how they responded, and then made an informed decision. And it's funny, I had been really, really tired lately, and I was really worried about feeling like tired and heavy, and I've been having head rushes. And I just found out that I'm low in iron. So, I actually had the past couple weeks, I've been having actual like panic attacks because I felt bad in my body, and I was like, oh my God, is this a sign that the cancer has come back? Which is a common fear when you have cancer. It's like, is it going to come back? But I just got test results while I was on the retreat, and I was like low in iron. So I was like, oh, okay, great. Taking iron supplements, and I felt better. So, so that was my biggest worry, but going into it, I was okay. So we got there. He did the same talk, setting the stage, saying again, ask us for anything you need, ask us for help. We'll come around. We won't touch you unless you want. Right. So then we did it. We went around and shared our intention with the group, and then took the medicine. And then he started playing this music, started shaking the rattle, started singing the songs. I put on my eye mask, and I was just like in outer space. And I was seeing fractals and rainbows, right? And I was like, oh my God, this is like, it's a little bit too much. I was on that bridge. But then I thought to myself, you know what, Kibby? You wanted to let go. You wanted to go in deep. Just let go. So I did. I just kept telling myself, like, bye, goodbye. And I let myself be in the situation. It helped to take off my eye mask and actually look outside and look at the beautiful trees and just like marvel for a second. Took deep breaths. And then I just fell into it. And in the most intense time, God, I'm trying to articulate. It's impossible to, but I saw that everything is, all these living beings are like part of this one web of energy, spirit, maternal love, whatever you want to call it. But I did see this oneness, this connection. And I was like, wow, I have been searching. I've been thinking about how I've just been needing to search and get things from outside of me. I've been looking for help with my energy levels. I've been getting healing like from cancer treatment. I've been looking to learn about business, right? I felt so like deficient in myself that I've been trying to look for solutions outside of myself. But then in that moment, I was like, everything I've been looking for is just already here. It's already here in me. I've forgotten it, but I've forgotten like that everything that I'm looking for, it's happening at its own pace. I have this, yeah, I guess this is like this illusion of control that we have. This idea that we have to heal people or we have to do things or we have to make things happen. But I was just like, wow, life is already happening. Healing is already happening. My body is already healing itself. Right? I just need to give it space and let it do its own thing. Trust that this healing process is already happening. So what that looked like specifically was like, I thought about this in metaphysical ways, such as like my own healing of this trauma. I was just like, I've just been so stuck because I've been trying to, I guess, not giving it space to breathe and being like, I'm sad. I need to rest. I'm healing at my own pace and that might be slower or more painful or unexpected in ways that I'm not controlling, but I'm just healing. My body's healing itself. My soul is healing itself. Then I saw in other ways too, like, I think I was marveling about how women's bodies go through so much change, like talking about disorganizing to reorganize, but we giving birth, I mean, we really like we come apart in pieces, and cancer, we literally come apart in pieces, and then we're just reassembling our organs and our bodies into a new form. And I was just like, wow, it's just, in that moment, I breathe and feel this places in my body where it's like tight or painful, and just brought my attention there. And then with just bringing the attention there, just allowed it to relax, right? So, and allowed it to feel like it moved or opened up. And I was like, oh, I feel like I keep having to like do healing, but now I'm allowing and giving space for the healing that's already happening. I'm just letting it do its thing, really. So it's just marveling at that, just like, whoa, like things die and grow and morph and change, and everything is evolving all the time, and we're just part of it. We just play a role in it. We don't control much if you think about it. Like, this stuff is already happening, right? And I remember looking around the room and all these amazing women who've gone through so much. They were all doing their own healing journey. Some were like going inward, wrapping the blanket around and doing something inside. And some were expressing and, going outward and releasing. I was looking around the room and some were giggling. Like, I was one of the giggling ones. I was like, wow, like, look at this, like this cool nest of women. And I was also meditating on womanhood versus manhood, like yin and yang, like the male and female energies. Because something that's been hard for me is that all up until having a baby, I felt very masculine. I was good at school, I was athletic, I was strong, I was independent, I was doing stuff, right? And then I had a baby, and then I had breast cancer. Like, womanhood just like really hit me like a Mack truck. And I've struggled with it. I haven't felt like a sense of power in the womanhood and the motherhood. I felt like um almost like I was forced to change into something that I'm not familiar with. Breastfeeding was hard. Like, it's just hard. So I was like, I want to appreciate the strength of womanhood. And I did. I looked around. I was like, oh my God, all these women, like, some of them gave birth to several big kids, and some are going inward and dealing with some their childhood trauma, and some are like giving birth metaphysically, and some are grappling with, their sexuality. I mean, there was just so many different, and I was just like, wow, women are just amazing. I mean, this sounds so silly, but like, women are really just amazing. And we should appreciate when men facilitate that, and do what they need to do to facilitate this healing, create space for it, right? Like, Julian was there creating a safe space for us, creating the music and creating the container while we're all doing the healing, right? And I was thinking about that with my husband, how I like gave birth and stuff, but all the things that he did to make me feel safe, make me feel protected, whether it's propping up my pillows or getting me a snack or telling me he loves me, like, we all play a role in this healing, right? And I was just marveling. There was a lot of hours where I think I was like, wow, wow, and watching someone grieve, and then the emotions will flow through me, and then appreciating like that I have naturally like more empathy, like a higher level of empathy than normal. Like, whenever someone cries, I feel sad immediately. So I was just like watching someone grieve, and then feeling it, and then just being like in awe of it, in awe of that process of like, this is just the humanity is beautiful. I'm starting to sound like woo woo, really woo right now, but yeah, and there were times where I closed my eyes and saw images of my grandmother who just passed away, of my father who passed away, and all my family and friends, and just realizing that we all are living in each other through how we affect each other. Like, our parents or generations before have given us legacies, whether painful or not, but just like have affected us through time and space. I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm saying. But just appreciating like the connection with this greater family, sense of family. And for the first time in a while, I just like watched it. I think that was, I think the plant medicine taught me that letting things move and heal is not about doing the right thing. I'm so focused on doing the right thing, and um, figuring out the right way, the right strategy, right? And like doing good, getting the A+. But actually, this was just about like letting go and marveling at a healing process, which means stepping back, allowing it to happen, trusting that traumas and wounds heal on their own. They have an inner wisdom that they know how to heal. And I just got to get out of the way, man. I got to stop trying to like work on it. And I just have to let go, and let go, not in the sense of like, bye, like that you're checking out, or that you're resigning, or like, like, fine, I'm letting go. You take care of it. I'm going to walk away. But instead being like, I trust you. So letting go in that moment felt like trusting in all of our ability to heal, creating this safe space to let someone do that, bringing attention to it and marveling and being in awe of it. and just letting it do its own thing. And I was like, wow, that's the way I want to parent. That's the way I want to treat my clients. That's the way I hope my clients treat their loved ones. That they go, what do you need? I'm here to help you heal. I trust you. You are you are in you have your own inner wisdom and your own agency to heal, but I'm here just to support and let it happen. Facilitate it. Let the movement happen. So that was just amazing. I was just just like marveling that in a while. And sometimes I would get hungry, so I would ask the facilitators for like little sips of honey, because apparently the honey does, you know. I went through this whole meditation about like honey and like and bees, and that there's a queen bee, and there's like they work in groups. So I really had this like appreciation that womanhood has this like, we do hard shit together. And we might do it individually, like we all give our own birth or whatever, but we do it together. We do it in a hive, in a nest, and we support each other in community. It was just, I think that was it. I was just in awe of community throughout my journey. And then I mean, within an hour, we had to come around and asking, like, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Would you like a booster? And I remember like just looking at him and bursting out laughing. I was like, what's up, man? Like, what? I'm all good. But, yeah, I was really touched. I think I was really moved by the experience, and getting a chance to marvel at the magic of healing. And as a healer, that was really something cool, right? I've been feeling so bogged down with the responsibility of having to heal and create a space for healing and do all the things. But I was just like, you know what? Listen, just listen. I remember one of my Thai massage teachers would always say, listen to body, listening. You have to learn to listen. To be a healer, you got to learn to listen. And I think I've forgotten that. I think I felt so anxious about how I need to do things right that I forgot to just listen. Listen to what my clients say they need to heal, right? What they need, what is calling inside them to heal, and how can I support that? So, I mean, there were some people in the group who were struggling, especially struggling with like the emotions that were in the room, and watching them just figuring out ways to cope with that, figuring out ways to ask for help. It was just really amazing, like this collective approach to healing, healing all of our individual and collective traumas. But it was such a beautiful experience, and we came out of it. We ate amazing food at home. Like, it was just like coming down, and it was actually nice too, because we finished by sharing. We did a couple rounds of just sharing what was in us, our experience, and it was so weird because we hadn't talked. Like, it was hard to be like, okay, now I'm gonna do public speaking now and tell you what is still happening inside me. But he was like, really don't think about here and what you think you should say, but really just see if there's something inside you that wants to be expressed through words. And most of us express gratitude. And just, we all were like, thank you so much for just giving each, like, us creating space for each other and being kind to each other and letting me feel safe enough to go to places that I normally wouldn't. And we were crying. There's one facilitator who sang amazing songs that I was just like, she was singing over and over, you don't have to carry this alone. You don't have to carry this alone. Just like singing that over and over. And all of us started weeping towards the end. That was a really beautiful moment. We all were holding the shared trauma of breast cancer, but also completely individual experiences. And we all felt really alone in it. We all felt like we went into a hole. And some of us, like me, felt like I didn't come back out. And so to think about that we don't have to carry that alone was, it was just beautiful. So we just expressed so much gratitude towards each other and to that experience. And we went home, and none of us could go to sleep really. But the next day was an integration day. And I really appreciated that because it was like so profound. I mean, I'm having trouble even just like saying all the things here without sounding like cheesy, like we're all one, but usually, I kind of expect that we just like go back to our lives and just kind of have to sit with like this amazing memory of this experience. But we had an integration day where Julian came and did a couple of exercises with us where he just said like, that we're just trying to, the medicine plant seeds in us, insights or messages or teachings or whatever that, are going to be powerful in the moment, but that these plant seeds that will grow over time. So we talked about how in the first few weeks after plant medicine, your brain is very plastic. It's very open to new experiences. Right now, my brain is like different than what it usually is. And I could see that. I could see that I'm paying attention to things in different ways. So he's like, just, be very careful and just like bring in what you've learned and let those seeds grow. So the way we did it was different meditation exercises where he was like, look around the room and see what catches your eye and just, connect with something in your journey that connects with this object that you're looking at. So we're just looking at each other or like fruit. And then he was just like, just have a conversation with, just listen. What is it trying to tell you? Like in that moment in your journey, like what do you want to keep? And then we had these other experiences these other meditations where he was like, pick a part of your journey that you want to remember, this like very insightful moment or something that you want to hold on to, and then picture a character or animal or person that embodies it and really picture that thing. I pictured Maya, my old Shiba Inu. She was like a white chubby Shiba Inu that's just like, she was like the coolest. She was like my sidekick. She went with me to Berlin. She was like my dog, my adulthood, and I miss her. But she really embodied this like, trust me, I got this. Like you stop doing things. She would always lie on the couch, just like with her legs out and just be chubby and just like look at you and be happy that you're there, but just like she was doing her own thing. So I pictured like this Kibby, trust, like just get out of the way and trust in the healing, just trust, let go as Maya. And we did this exercise of like having a conversation in our minds, like what would that moment say to us? What messages does it want us to know? And what, say something back, like ask questions. So we had these moments of like, just, it's very like acceptance and commitment therapy, like this is, or different kinds of like IFS and different kinds of therapies where you like talk to different parts of you, but we're basically talking to the different parts of us. And I think in general, just we sat and we discussed and we talked a lot, and it brought like sometimes hearing other people's memories like brought back memories of different parts of the experience. So, and we journaled a lot. Like I just fill pages of everything that I can remember, and it was just like, okay, like let's that moment where your mind is just doing its own thing, let's see how we can bring that and integrate that into our daily life now. Let the seeds grow and let it be a part of us, not just like I was there, I did this cool thing, and now I'm back to my old patterns, my old habits. So I really do I want to bring this appreciation for womanhood, and also in the appreciation for womanhood, this like yin and yang, I don't know how to say. But I was always saying like, oh, the male part is good. That's ambition. That's productivity and work, and female is slower and stiller and quieter. And I think my mind was like, I think I learned to appreciate both, and that it's not two different things. It's just the same thing from two different vantage points. And I even thought about myself, about being half Asian, and like thinking like, am I white or am I Asian? Am I? But seeing this constantly as like two different things, but I'm like, no, this is the meeting place of, this is like the same thing, but just two different sides. So I don't know. I appreciated the beauty of women. I appreciated the process of healing. I marveled at, like, I'm just going to learn to trust, and I'm going to let go of my anxiety and need for control and doing and working and being productive. And what that looks like is not a resignation, but it's going to look like a trust in the process and having fun with it and marveling at it. Not feeling responsible, but feeling responsible for responding to what someone else needs to facilitate their healing, to make their healing happen. So yeah, I'm going to embody Maya, the spirit of just like, I'm just sitting on my couch and I'm going to trust that everything's going to go well. Yeah, and then it was hard because we had to say goodbye. We all like only knew each other for 4 days in person, but we had these really deep bonds with each other in the group, and an appreciation. And so we did some qigong. We did this cool exercise where we took like this pink yarn and threw it at each other and like appreciated, like said some kind of words of appreciation for the group, and then like made these bracelets that we could wear. And we just closed out and like went to the airport and left. And in some ways I'm like, oh, like now I'm back and back to normal life. But I do feel a change. I feel this, I feel like I'm no longer empty. I feel this feeling of groundedness that I used to always feel. Like a trust in myself, like it'll be okay. I still worry, like I'm not like, going, in the clouds now. I'm still like, whoa, I have to do this. I have to do these emails back. But before, there'd be this existential crisis of like, I'm not good enough. I'm not enough. And now I'm like, okay, Kibby, you can do this. Everything will be fine. Reply to that email, but just stay in me and just appreciate what's already here, and not just thinking that you have to get something from the outside world. So I am just so grateful for that experience. I want to get Anna Hamilton, my husband's ex, who organized all of this, onto this podcast, and she could talk more about her experience and how she came to create such an amazing community. But I think it was one of the most beautiful experiences I've had in my life. And I probably for weeks will still processing what the F happened. But I really advocate for, if people are feeling stuck, or they feeling like therapy is not getting them to the deeper places, like there's more to work through. Like therapy, obviously, I'm a really big proponent of, but therapy is a tool and one part of treatment, right? And it can help in certain ways, but there were other things that this plant medicine did. For example, like you might go into therapy and just say the same things over and over again, right? Say the same stories, say the same worries. And this is one of these moments where your brain is like, ooh, opens up, and you could experiment and play with other ways of thinking, other feelings that you haven't been allowing yourself to feel because, of your normal habits and coping mechanisms. So this just allowed everything to soften and open up. And I mean, if you're curious about what the plant medicine is, you can look at Survivorship Collective and see what they do. But it's so cool how so many different kinds of alternative mental health treatments are coming out now, whether it's, like plant medicine, ketamine, all these, TMS, like we're experimenting with even AI, and digital health. We're all experimenting with new ways of healing mental health. And it's a wild west. So there's a lot of things that we don't know, like who it's good for and who it's not good for. But I really recommend, if you were to ever experiment and look for something with these alternative new progressive healing methods, really go to a place that's reputable, that has very clear regulations, like regulations around what dosage did you get, what can the facilitators do for you, what is the doctor's role, what happens in a case of emergency, how should we approach this, is it legal, right? Like just checking all those things and doing your research and your homework, because I know that a lot of these different alternative medicines have kind of crashed and burned because the 70s, where we all were like, woo, like everyone should try everything, LSD, or like, all this, MDMA, ecstasy, all this crazy stuff. And then, quickly that spirals into danger. So, yeah, just be careful and just be intentional about it. And I highly recommend, I don't know, just taking some time to go inward and giving some time just for you, because you might push and push and push and push and push through those burnouts, but there might be something inside you that's saying, hey, we need to slow down. We need a moment to ourselves. We need to look inward. We need to create space so that whatever's happening inside can express itself and move through it. So I don't know if this episode made any sense or, was interesting or helpful, but I don't know. Maybe it was more for me. But I just wanted to share this with all of you because all of you are very special to me. And I wanted to share that, if the things out there that you tried haven't helped, there are new ways of healing, and there's ways of healing that you might not expect, and to be open to that. So, as always, if you liked this episode, leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And then whatever platform you're listening to this, Spotify and YouTube, you could write like comments on it and I can respond to you. So I love talking to all of you. Some of you have written some really nice things and some of you have written, some critical things, but all are welcome. I learn from every conversation I have with you. So, I appreciate you, and I will see you next week. Thank you. By accessing this podcast, you acknowledge that the host of this podcast makes no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of information featured in this podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information purposes only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast and any and all content or services available on or through this podcast are provided for general, non-commercial, informational purposes only, and do not constitute the practice of any medical or any professional judgment, advice, diagnosis, or treatment, and should not be considered or used as a substitute for the independent professional judgment, advice, diagnosis, or treatment of a duly licensed and qualified healthcare provider. In case of a medical emergency, you should immediately call 911. The host does not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast. And information from this podcast should not be referenced in any way to imply such approval or endorsement. Thank you.